It's very common to be asked why we don't rally during summertime. I mean, if you live in Europe or parts of North America, summertime is very pleasant and there should be no reason why we couldn't rally. Well, the weather in Western Australia is a little bit of a different beast. Last summer was one of the hottest and driest on records, with temperatures consistently over 40 degrees C or 100 degrees Fahrenheit for days in a row, and the rainfall was very little. Obviously, that makes it quite unpleasant to be racing in these things. Plus, on top of that, the fire danger is a massive risk, and that is the biggest reason why events are not run at that time of year. So, we usually wait until April when the weather has cooled down and autumn is on its way to start the season. And that is exactly what we're doing today. We're going to the Winvale Stages Rally, which is just out of Bakers Hill in the east of Perth. Why did I start with discussing the weather? Well, even though the State Championship starts in April with the beginning of autumn, so by now the weather should be cooling down, we hadn't had too much of that for the Winvale Stages Rally, and it was very dry and dusty, and we'll talk about that a bit further in. So let's have a quick look at how the rally went together. Being run on private property, it is quite a compact event. It's really more of a rally sprint than it is an actual full rally. The stages are very tight and twisty, they're only relatively short, and it's quite common to run stages forward and reverse direction and link bits and pieces of roads together during the event to put it all together. Now this year the numbers were down on entries over previous years. In our team, for example, we had I think 5 or 6 cars or maybe more in 2023. However, this year we had just 1. Now that wasn't for any particular reason. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. People's lives, of course, everything happens in there, and there's nothing sinister about that. Just happened to be that way. And maybe that was the way for other teams as well. During the off-season, there had been plenty of stories and rumours circulating about people changing cars, drivers, co-drivers, etc. And we were pretty keen to see how that all panned out at Winvale. There was a couple of notable names missing, and the top of that list was Daniel Gonzalez and Damon Nicoli, 2023 State Rally Championship winners. They didn't make the start in their Skoda Fabia R5. They weren't the only ones, obviously, and there was plenty of others. There was also a bit of touch and go there because the week before that, there was a round of the Australian Rally Championship that kicked off in Canberra, and there was a few teams who had to make the race back across the continent to get back in time to start the WA season. Tim Hiles and Morgan Ward had changed cars from their Legacy RS and gone to a leased STI hatch. They lead the field away, and given the dusty conditions, it should have been an advantage being car 1 on the road. It all came undone pretty early though, when a slightly misaligned jump ended in a landing that went through a fence and a star picket went through the windscreen. Visibility was then a bit of a drama for the next couple of stages until they got into service, where the windscreen was removed and they had to wear goggles for the rest of their rally. Further back in the field, and even with a 3-minute gap between cars, the dust was causing quite a problem. It was reducing visibility substantially. The first service after the first group of 3 stages, and everything seemed to be going pretty well for most of the field. Within our team, it was just routine maintenance.
What are you actually doing?
Okay, so in here the mud flat, the bumper clip's broken and it's lost the bolt, so I'm putting a new bolt with some big washers on there to hold it in.
Oh.
That makes sense?
Yep.
The next loop of stages, however, that took a few cars out of the field. Gary Mills and Mitch Gray are still having trouble with the reliability of the Peugeot, and they retired with mechanical issues. As did Tim Hiles and Morgan Ward with their STI. Adding to the list would be Ben Perard, Adam Critch and Mike Gigney. The most exciting or maybe nail-biting event of the day came from Carter Smith and Jade White in their Ford Escort. The pair ran a little bit wide on one corner and got themselves stuck in the stubble from last year's crop. Hot exhaust and dry grass, well, this tells its own story. Luckily, the emergency services onto it quick smart, and the damage was superficial to the car. They were able to continue the rally and ended up finishing 5th in state two-wheel drive. Whilst that may have been the most dramatic, it wasn't the end of the dramas. It's bugger. Unfortunately, the 5-speed gearbox in this was a bit of an unknown when Shane got the car, so unfortunately it's not taken too kindly to rallying and it's given up. A disappointed Shane and Dermot were out after just 4 stages, and that was the end of our day of rallying. Onto the Clubman Cup, and there were only 2 entries at Winvale this year. Rob Russell and Eden Hughes took their Corolla to 2nd place. Luke Dunkley made his driving debut with Alex Baird alongside in their Hyundai XL that had been part of our team a couple of years ago, and they took the win. Into the late afternoon and the final few stages. Let's take a look at how the rally worked out for the two-wheel drive state championship. Right at the start, I talked about fire, and it couldn't have been closer to home for Sam Moody and Dave Christian. At the end of the last year, the Moody family lost everything including the rally car in a bushfire right before Christmas. Perhaps one upside from this tragic event was that they were able to source another rally car and start the 2024 season. In an epic battle all day for two-wheel drive, Sam and Dave would end the day in 2nd place after their Lancer gave them a little bit of transmission trouble. Tony Oates, with new co-driver Neve Nairn on board in their Honda Civic, took the win by just 2.1 seconds. Right, onto the outright placings. Craig Rando and Scott Beckwith had announced that they'd be running an AP4 Yaris to start the season. Unfortunately, the car wasn't ready, so they were using last year's Subaru. They did very well holding their own against the Rally 2 cars until later in the rally when they slipped to 5th. Young Tom Lawton and Michael Lloyd in their Evo 9 took the initiative and finished highest production car in 4th place. Pete Rullo changed co-drivers and had Ben Searcy alongside in his Hyundai i20 Rally 2, and they finished 3rd. Dylan King had changed both car and co-driver for this rally. He'd moved up to an AP4 Yaris that was part of Toyota Team Australia last year and had Damon Nicoli alongside. In a ding-dong battle for the lead, they end up finishing 2nd. And that left the top spot. It went to Alex Rullo with Jimmy Marquette alongside in their Hyundai i20 Rally 2. And for the first time in state championship history, we could say it was a Toyota versus Hyundai battle. The gap at the final control was just 4 seconds. So that wraps up our coverage of the 2024 Winvale Stages Rally. Thanks very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you again soon. Cheers.